Hey, welcome everyone. I'm Twwk, director of Beneath the Tangles, and I'm excited today to have a trio of talented voice actors joining me. They voiced some of the colorful characters in the Funimation dub of Appare-Ranman. So with me today are Suzie Yeung, who plays Xialian, Brandon McInnis, next to her, who plays Al, and Xanthe Huynh, who plays Sofia. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
Thanks for having us. Hello.
First of all, we're here, we made it. Brandon, I know you were moving across the country just this week, right?
Yeah, don't have internet yet. That's why I'm over here with
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice that Susie's so friendly to let you just hop on over there. But I'm glad you all made it and everyone's here. So I just found out that everyone here except for me is in California. So actually, I wanted to kind of start there because I was reminded that a couple of years ago I was talking to Elizabeth Maxwell, who actually voices a small role in this same anime also, and she was kind of talking about that tug back and forth between living here in Texas, where I am, and living in California. So I kind of wonder. With you all doing a lot of the Funimation dubs, and now I guess it doesn't matter so much with everything that's going on with COVID, but how do you make that decision whether to base yourself in California or to be somewhere else? I mean, personally, I mean, you can't really speak for everyone else, but.
For me, I was already living in SoCal, so I was just lucky to start in a big market for voiceover. And this is actually my first Funimation dub, and I was able to do it because a lot of things are remote recorded, so yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet. Let's see. I was born in Dallas and raised in Dallas, and I moved a couple different places, but then came back to Dallas and was there when I started doing voiceover. My training's in stage, like musicals and live theater, and so I was doing live theater out there, doing musicals, and started doing work with Funimation there. And I guess this year, I had a lot of friends in LA. The voiceover community is pretty small, so you get to know each other, and especially at cons, right? Because there's a lot of lead over and you meet people. And with the pandemic happening, things have gotten a lot more ambiguous location-wise. You can work with pretty much any studio now if they're willing to support a link with your home studio. And so I started doing more work with LA studios this year than I've ever done before. And part of the move was inspired by a group of friends that are very supportive and wonderful, and encouraged me and Michael to move. And part of it was the work. I imagine at some point studios are going to want to record in person again, and so I wanted to be here when that shift happened.
Right.
Very good. So actually, Xanthe, real quickly, so I didn't realize this was your first Funimation dub. So you had been working, I guess, a lot with, I mean, gaming studios, but also Aniplex, I guess. Is that right? And then I know you've worked with 11 Arts also. They're in LA. Did what Brandon talked about, this kind of change over the last year with COVID and more remote stuff, help make working with Funimation more possible, I guess?
I believe so. I think so. I know that they have brought in talent from LA before, and I'm not sure what it's like for them. Maybe before COVID. I'm wondering if they were able to go into like a studio local to here and just like patch in that way. But yeah, I believe that it's the reason why I was able to I even audition for this, mainly because they were able to do a lot of remote recording.
I mean, that's really interesting to me. I'm here in Austin, where so many of my friends are in the tech world, and it's just it's always been a little bit fluid like that, where you could be in a different location and still make your meetings and so forth. But it's really interesting that the voice acting industry maybe is kind of turning a little bit there, and for who knows how long, right? Like Brandon mentioned, when all this goes back to normal, maybe these opportunities, it depends again where you are, but maybe this will open up some more stuff for you all. But anyway, let's get back to this actual series, to Appare-Ranman. And I've been super blessed to interview people associated with this PA Works anime, and who have voiced characters in this transcontinental race stories. So I started with the directors, Caitlin and Sean, and then I interviewed Lee, Yvonne, and Emmy, whose characters are all on the same team. And now I'm with you all, who voice characters that are kind of spread out a little bit, but have really become friendly with those lead characters, Appare and Kosame. But I want to talk about your characters, and I'll start with you, Suzie. I'm sorry to the other two, but I would say Xialian is probably my favorite character in the whole show. Really enjoying her art. Can you tell me a little bit about her? Tell the audience a little bit about Xialian.
Yeah, so she grew up in an environment where, you know, there's no women racers at all. So she's really kind of the pioneer for that by you know, trying to get more involved in racing. So I think she joined to be like a chore girl for the racer team in order to, you know, just sort of observe and be closer to that environment. But she just never had an opportunity to prove herself as a racer. But, you know, after she met Appare and Kosame, I think they gave her the courage to really pursue what she really wanted and prove to everybody that you don't just have to be a guy to do that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, those two are certainly having an impact around all the characters in the series, and including Al, right? Who starts out, I guess, I mean, there's this whole kind of stereotypical rich kid, rude French guy maybe at first, but you know, he proves to be more than that. And then we also have Sofia with him. So as I was kind of thinking about the show, and I've been watching through it, and I've been keeping up with it. I was wondering, do you all know? Is this? I don't even know if this is a point in the series, but Brandon and Xanthe, your two characters, what exactly is the relationship with each other?
That's an interesting thing, because I think at times we're still figuring that out too.
Okay.
Right? I mean, because there's clearly a history there, clearly, and I get the sense, and please, Xanthe, tell me if you have a different sense of it, because I really would love to know that, that she originally was like a babysitter, like a caretaker almost, because I think she's older than him. Is that right? I think so. Yeah.
I think so. In age-wise, it's not really clear.
Right.
But like her mother was his caretaker, and then at age 14, like her mother wasn't able to work anymore. So then Al's father made her kind of his caretaker just so that they could continue living there and like helping out. Okay.
So it's like officially a caretaker, but the sense that I get from it is that they're not that far apart in age, if they're apart at all in age, and it's an interesting relationship, and I want to know more. Like, I'm excited to learn more about that as time goes on.
They're definitely very close, I think, because they did grow up together, and I really like how Sofia is really sensitive to Al's feelings, and it's like actually really encouraging, and like, you know, for him, and I think she's like a really good person to have in his life, to just kind of like be like, just do the things you want to do, you know, don't stop like thinking about it too much.
You know, what's also fun about these characters and your two characters is the accents. So I wonder, is it first? Okay, well, here's another question. Maybe you all know, maybe you don't. What is it? Is this an accent that's specific to a country? Is it kind of general European accent? Is it challenging to do that accent? Is it fun to do those accents?
I think it's fun. It's great. For me personally, Al's accent is Parisian French. Okay. I trained in opera and took classes on like foreign language diction, but very specifically, it's like Parisian French and Italian and German, but it's just Parisian French. Like, you throw me in Canada, I don't know what's going on. Like when you turn on the TV in Quebec, I can't understand like anything. And my French isn't great, but pronunciation, I got this. It'll be great.
I studied accents with Eliza Jane Schneider for a couple of years, and it's kind of challenging for me because it's my first time dubbing with an accent, and
Right.
dubbing is already kind of like voice acting gymnastics, and so having like the accent on top of that, trying to match picture and like try to like put the emotion behind it all, sometimes it's not always there. So, but I'm lucky that our director Caitlin Glass kind of keeps me honest if the accent is kind of not as like prominent, like because I'm trying to match picture and everything else. But yeah, I
You're
think
not
it's
the
a lot
only
of
one,
fun.
Xanthe. That happens to me all the time too. You'll be like, ooh, that was real American. You're right, Caitlin. Yes, we ought to do it over.
You know, obviously I don't know a whole lot about the voice acting industry, but I will say y'all are doing an awesome job with those accents. They even for someone like me who's you know, who knows nothing about what's really going on, I can tell that it's very intentional. You know, it's not just thrown out there. You know, your background's obviously feeding into that. So y'all are doing a great job, and it's so much fun. I really enjoy them. That's such a big part of their character, where you can kind of develop their character through that accent also. And I think that's just really fun. You know, again, back to Sofia a little bit and her character. She really reminds me of a lot of the types of characters I think that that you've done, Xanthe, which I don't know how to categorize them except to say that they're very kind of lovable young ladies. And I wondered, if I name some of your characters, would you give me the first word that comes to your mind when I give them?
Sure.
All right, let's do a few. Let's do a few of my favorites that you've done. All right, Menma.
Adorable.
Yeah, I think that's about right. Makia.
Caring.
Yeah. All right. This one might be harder. Momo Kawamoto. You can't use adorable again.
Oh no. Energetic.
Okay, good. All right, one more. Yui Hirasawa.
Caretaker.
That's good. I was looking as I was preparing for this, I was looking at all the characters you've done, and you've done such a good number of really, really prominent characters. So I could go on and on, but thank you for doing that. That was fun.
Thank you.
Actually, let me turn to you, Brandon. And you know, you've done some pretty prominent characters as well. I'm thinking particularly lately with Gen from Dr. Stone, which is a real favorite around my house. I've my family and the kids, they love that show, and they love him and his dynamics with the what's his name, the lead character.
Senku.
Senku, yes, yeah, they have such a great dynamic. And then also Sir Night-Eye, right? I mean, that the most recent arc and how that ended, it was so heartbreaking. So yeah, you're doing these wonderful characters, but I noticed on your Twitter that it's not just voice acting. And you know, you talked about this before we got on, but there's a lot of singing. There's even some rapping.
There's a sliver of rap.
Okay, well. You've got a lot of TikTok videos on there. And I kind of wonder, is music really your passion? I mean, is that, if I had to say acting and music and all the other things and stage, you know, is music the one that's your real passion?
I love the voice. My passion is the voice, and music is absolutely part of that. I love creating things with my voice, and music is one of the ways that I do it. Because like I said before, my training was in musicals and opera, and I found this whole new palette of expression in music production that I've been doing for the past few years, 3 or 4 maybe. And so yeah, I enjoy producing covers. I really enjoy making original music, but it's hard. Original music is hard, right? It's really difficult to like promote original music. So so I'm doing a lot of covers right now.
Yeah, that's it. But you're able to still I guess imbue that sense of creativity even with the covers. I mean, it's been really a lot of fun hearing you do foreign languages and things like that. And you know, yeah. So since you rap so much, right? That's what you said, right? You do a lot of rapping. I was wondering if I could request for you to rap something for all the listeners out
Sure,
there.
sure. I need to get some context if I just bust this out though. Everyone's probably familiar with the KDA song, The Baddest. It's a recent one, League of Legends song that came out. And I covered it, but replaced all the Korean with Japanese, because that's the language that I speak. I have a degree in it. I worked in Tokyo. And yeah, okay, you want me to rap?
Yes, we're all eager for it.
All right, pretty face, 現れて、スタイルが最高、望みのすべてはここにある行こう。So there's little Japanese rap for you.
That was good.
That was amazing.
Yes.
Right now, Suzie and Xanthe, your turn. Just freestyle it. It's all right.
Any Chinese rap you can share with us?
No.
Chinese rap, Vietnamese rap. Come on, just.
Oh, rapping is not a skill I possess.
Do you all have any type of musical background also, or is it more the acting and voiceover and things of that nature?
I was more for acting. I did some theater before I went into voiceover, but not a whole lot of singing.
No. How about you, Suzie?
I like to sing for fun, but
Right, I won't put you on the spot. I was just joking. I'm not gonna.
no, but I don't have a background necessarily in singing or music. No, but,
Which you don't need. You don't need it all. Like, way more important.
Well, anyway, talking about the Brandon's TikTok and how that's really taken off, and about social media in general. Everyone here is on social media. You all have Twitter accounts, for instance, and I do notice that you three kind of there is definitely a difference in how each person here uses their Twitter. I just want to know personally from each of you guys. Do you enjoy Twitter? Do you enjoy Twitter and social media, or does it really feel like it's more of a professional necessity because of the career you're in?
Well, I like it because it connects me with my peers. A lot of my peers are also voice actors, and it's just really cool to see, what they're up to, like what projects they're working on. It's great. It's a great platform to, support each other. And also, just to let people know what I'm doing as well. So it's not just like a tool for me, but also like I just post whatever sometimes. So it's also like where I get a lot of like fast news. So it's very multi-purpose for me personally.
I think we all feel. I imagine you two feel the same way. Like feel this pressure of social media and being a voice actor. Like I feel like I have to be really active on social media, but I'm not always feeling like I want to be active on social media.
Oh yeah.
I love using Twitter to find out what my peers are doing and what my friends are doing, and retweet and support that and celebrate that. Because what other outlet do we have? It's not like you call up everyone you know and you're like, hey, I'm in this thing. Just come out today. It feels like I still want to know what everyone,
Yeah.
So
but Brandon, what do you do? What do you do then on a day where you just are done with it? You don't want to be on social media. You don't want to connect with the world, but I mean, it's part of your career.
Well, there's always the good old drafts folder. I try, and anyone who does TikTok a lot will tell you, like, that drafts folder will save your life, because it's all art, it's all inspiration. Like TikTok for me, I really only post stuff that I think of, oh, that'd be funny. That's funny. Let's do that. But we have periods of inspiration and periods of like desolate creativity where just nothing is coming to us and we need a day.
Yeah.
And so I find that it helps me to just like, if I have multiple ideas in one day, I'll just make TikToks and put them in a draft folder. I do the same thing with tweets too. If there's a funny tweet or something, I'll just draft. But that's my approach.
Yeah.
And Xanthe, what about you? I notice I feel like your account is it's extremely kind of professional based, and so I kind of wanted to get your take on it. I mean, do you enjoy it, or again, does it feel like it's more of a part of what you do as a career?
I mean, I guess I kind of echo what the two have said. I use it. I guess I do like to use it more in a professional sense in terms of what I post. So it's mostly just like a lot of announcements and to just celebrate announcements that friends have made. And I like to look at a lot of fan art. And so that's like one way I like to connect with fans. So I'll just retweet a lot of art. There's really a lot of really talented artists out there. But yeah, I always feel like I don't know what to post. And so and it's always kind of weird because you never know what people are gonna like, how people are going to receive whatever it is you post. So it's either going to be great or not. And, you know, there's, to every social media, there's like certainly a dark side that I'd like to avoid. But, you know, sometimes it comes at you unprovoked. And you kind of have to pretend that it didn't hurt your feelings.
Oh.
But most of the times, like, I feel like I have a pretty good experience, and it's mainly because I try to keep it more focused on my career. But yeah.
Yeah.
You know, speaking of that, I wonder if do you guys ever delete tweets when they don't go the way you expect them to go, and also, do you block people? or do you, I mean, there's a mute button on Twitter, there's a block button, and then there's just, I'll just ignore you. But I mean, it's hard. It's so hard. Like, I mean, I'll tell you, with my like few hundred followers, even then, right? I feel like I want to block this person, I want to block this person, but I don't get the immense kind of, you know, feedback that you guys do. So I'm able to just be like, okay, I can walk away and not have to block people, because that in itself, people discover that, and then they may get on you about blocking them. So I wonder how you handle that negativity. Do you block people? Do you ignore them? And again, when you do have a tweet that doesn't necessarily land the way you want to, do you just leave it there, or do you delete it or redo it sometimes?
Well, I don't delete tweets. I mean, if it doesn't go over well, then it's whatever. Because when you tweet, it's just it kind of gets buried in the pile anyway. But as for me personally, like, I think with a lot of followers comes a lot of haters. Like there's a share of haters. But for me, because I'm still like, my follower account is not very high, so I like to think that like the people who do follow me are wholesome and nice, and they don't attack me yet. So yeah, I haven't experienced that personally.
That's good.
I do delete tweets, but I delete tweets compulsively when there's a typo. If I see it, I cannot abide a typo in my own tweets, even if it's got like 40, 50 likes, whatever, and I posted it half an hour ago. I can't do it. I can't not delete it and repost it, because it's going to stick out and be like, that's a contraction, and I was just typing quickly and post, and I can't do it. I just know. So I do that. But haters, if they attack me, usually I just mute. Whatever. I don't care. I'm not giving you my energy. Go away. If they attack a fan or a follower, instant block. Because I'm trying to cultivate a safe space on my own Twitter for my fans and people who are interested, and I want that to be positive. So that's a quick way to get blocked by me.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for sharing. That's. I mean, to me, that's super interesting. I want to see how you guys use social media. That's very cool. So, you know, and Suzie, you know, you brought up that, you know, you're kind of newer. Your Twitter account, at least, is the newest among the folks here, I think, and you're relatively new to the industry. So how did you get into voice acting? I mean, this is, again, a pretty recent thing for you.
Yeah, well, I guess when I was a kid, I always loved, you know, watching cartoons and playing video games, and I always really admired voice actors in general. I'd watch their panels. Like I just really like that aspect of bringing characters to life. But I never fully pursued it until really recently. Just because, you know, coming from an Asian background, the family, of course, wants to push you towards a more traditional path. So, like, my parents were not very supportive of me choosing any other path except like a doctor or a lawyer or engineer, you know, very stereotypical stuff. So for the past, I guess, 5 years, I was working at a full-time job back in Boston. And so of course, I learned a lot from it, and I took very valuable experiences from it. But after those 5 years, I kind of questioned myself. I was like, is this, really what I want to be doing for the rest of my life? Like, I feel like I don't want to have to like grow old and retire and then enjoy life, and then pursue the things that I want to do. So voice acting is something that I was always interested in, trying it out professionally. So I was very lucky to have a friend who kind of coaxed me back into voice acting, and I made a move to Texas at first. I stayed there for a few months, and then I came here to actually commit to a full-time voice acting. Yeah.
Do you ever find that you use stuff that you learned in your previous job?
Oh,
in voice acting
absolutely.
now?
Not in like a creative capacity,
Yeah.
but it's definitely helped me with organization and staying on top of things.
That's important.
Yeah, especially when your schedule is like kind of crazy and you're trying to coordinate. Like, I've got it down in terms of how to make things efficient. And
Teach me your way.
yeah, I will teach you right after. Yeah, because I was like, I need to remember, like, especially because with remote recording, there's all these like Zoom links and source connects, and like you have to remember all that information.
Paperwork too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So what I do is like I have my calendar open, and then I just like copy the details that I need onto the calendar events, so that it keeps me very like on task and organized.
Yes.
So
I'm stealing that. I'm gonna use that.
Maybe you can do a work study now that you're down there and just follow her,
yeah.
It's interesting. The one thing I can bring into this conversation is that Asian background. And, when I interviewed Emmy, she said something similar with her parents and how they reacted to it. Xanthe, I wonder what was your experience, going into acting and the, I guess, the support or lack of support you felt from family, maybe the community growing up?
It was almost exactly the same.
Yeah.
My parents wanted me to go into some sort of, medical related field. And I was like, I'm terrible when it comes to science and numbers. I cannot do that. And so when I applied to like a university, I applied for theater because my parents don't understand computers. And so when I filled out my application, I'm doing it all. And basically went to get a degree just so that I had a degree for them to, not be on my case if I decided like not to go pursue like higher education. But yeah, it was kind of tough, like fighting for, and like even throughout like college and then after college, they were like, are you sure you don't want to go back and like, study something else, get a job that's more stable? And yeah.
Well, how do they feel now after you've had all this success? Is it still the same? Make sure you get a real job.
No, not so much. Like they understand that it's like my passion, and that I am working, so I'm not just sitting around unemployed.
How about you, Brandon? Do you feel like how did your family kind of, I guess, or the people around you growing up, what kind of impact did they have on you, bringing you to where you are now?
Well, I did not grow up in an Asian family, but my mother.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were.
But
all right, we'll move on then.
No, wait. But I feel like I can relate in a very small way because my mom was a veterinarian, and she was very like sciencey, and I was interested in medicine. I love medicine. I think it's fascinating. It's intriguing, but whenever I showed interest in something else as a possible career, it would just be crushed. Like, why would you waste your time with that? You want to be a physician, right? Yeah. And so for a while, I thought I was going to go into laryngology, specifically like injuries of the throat for performers and singers and stuff. And but then as time went on, I just fell in love with so many things, and you can't do everything. And I was like, I can't commit to this much school, this much debt. especially with the health insurance system being the way it is. And I could talk for ages about that, but I realized it's not what I want to do the rest of my life.
Right.
And so yeah, so that happened. But I did try to placate the family by working in software engineering. So there's I've been doing software engineering sometimes. So it's compromise.
See that on the side. Yeah, no, that was a nice little segue there. I appreciate that. You're an honorary Asian. So
Japanese, you fluent.
I am fluent in Japanese.
Yeah.
But
that's true. That's true. Yeah, and in fact, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm Korean, but my Korean is terrible. So I'm sure that your Japanese is better than my Korean, and that's embarrassing to me. So, but anyway, well, speaking of languages, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Suzie, but I noticed on your site that I guess you can speak in both Mandarin and Cantonese dialects. So I'm kind of out of my element again when it comes to languages. I find it fascinating, folks. It's like I'm assuming, Xanthe, that you speak Vietnamese. Okay, so everyone
fluent,
here,
but yeah.
that's what every Asian says. I'm not fluent, and then they bust it out when they're like at a restaurant. Okay, so anyway, so you're all fluent in some other language, or multiple, and I just think that's really interesting. So I wanted to ask you, Suzie, in particular, when you go to those dialects, from English to Mandarin, or even Mandarin to Cantonese, do you have to kind of flip a switch, or is it just very natural? And also, is the way you would approach a narration different, between English and Mandarin and Cantonese?
Yeah, so not to go off on what you just said, but I don't think I'm fluent necessarily in either of those dialects, just because, English is my first language, and then Cantonese is considered my second language. Just because I grew up in that environment, like my family is originally from Hong Kong. And then Mandarin, I actually did not pick up until college. So I learned a few years of that. And Mandarin and Cantonese are completely different. Like they might as well be separate languages. So I would say that I'm not necessarily completely confident in Mandarin especially. But as far as switching between them, it's like different skills, right? Like you can ride a bike and you can play tennis. Well, like what's it like switching between those two? It's just kind of separate skill sets that you have at your disposal. But in terms of how it's different narration-wise, because, for example, Mandarin is not my first language. When I was putting together my Chinese reel, I had my cousin who was from mainland China kind of consult me on, what's the correct cadence for how to say things. And even though I was pronouncing things, correctly, the way that they do advertisements or the way that they act is different than how you would act in English. So she would say, yeah, your pronunciation's fine, but it's a really weird read. So yeah, it's those kinds of things that you can't necessarily pick up on unless you were directly exposed all the time to that language.
I'm trying to think of someone who was fluent in English, but had never heard like commercial copy in English before. Yeah. And then tell them, we'll read this commercial. What would that sound like? Yeah, right. It wouldn't sound like a commercial, like what you just
someone
normally saying something.
Yeah.
But I think every language has stylistic preferences in commercial copy. I had never thought about that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I never thought of that either. Except like that the trend here is to be not an actor. So that would be ideal.
Yeah, make it sound natural, conversational.
I hate to put you on the spot. Actually, I do want to put you on the spot and say, can you, would you all mind saying something in a different language, and we'll just kind of go along, and you choose your language if you know several of them. But so whatever you want to say, and maybe we can do Suzie, Brandon, and then Xanthe, and then explain to us in English what we said, since most of us probably won't understand.
Sure. I can do both Cantonese and Mandarin. So, 大家好，我叫Suzie. Yeah. 你好，我是 Suzie. That's basically just like, hello, my name is Suzie. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, no, I know. Like, you put on the spot. I'm fascinated by, like, Cantonese has 7 tones, right?
Yeah, it's like ambiguous. It's between like 7 to 9.
So many tones. Between 7 to 9, depending on how Cantonese feels like that day.
Yeah. It's hard to explain because unlike Mandarin, it doesn't have like strict, I don't know how to describe it. But because I never like formally learned Cantonese, it's just something that I picked up from my family.
Got it.
But Mandarin is a lot more structured, where there's definitely 4 tones, and you follow those rules. But
Cool,
yeah.
cool. I'll do, there's a camcorder ad from Panasonic that I remember from 10 years ago because I thought it was the funniest thing ever. How they use, because Japanese ad copy loves to use English words because it's cool and hip and like so modern. But so they'll just throw them randomly into ad copy. So what I'm about to say is, with your family, every day is special.
Mhm.
Okay. 家族と一緒に毎日がスペシャル。
Very nice.
And that was the Panasonic tagline for it. Like every day is special. Okay.
Now, Brandon, since I saw this recently on a TikTok, could you do that same line with a Southern accent?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. 家族と一緒に毎日がスペシャル. Okay. Yeah, my specialty is foreign accents.
I think you're out of Texas right now. You can make fun of all the Texans and Southerners over here.
It's a totally unusable skill in voiceover, but I love it.
You never know. That's amazing.
Xanthe, how about you?
Chào bạn, tôi tên là Xanthe. It's like, hi friends, my name is Xanthe.
Very nice. All right. Well, thank you for sharing all that.
Can we hear some Korean?
Yeah, here's some Korean.
Oh
No,
yeah.
not-
Yes.
No. I like to keep the facade. Okay, so like on my Twitter account, I say, or my wife says that I'm Korean when I want to be, and then I'm half white. My dad's blonde hair, blue eyes. My mother's Korean. So I had a really different upbringing than most other Koreans I knew, because my mom wouldn't talk to me in Korean. I think she thought that I wouldn't learn English that way, which everyone knows now. You know, if you feed all these languages, it's even better for you, right? So I did that. You know how you all talked about the idea that you can learn it, but then you don't get all the kind of cultural inflections and things like that. So I learned it, and then I would go to like Korean school, which is what all the Koreans do to learn Korean. And I would say everything, and everyone would be like, we don't understand what you're saying. You know, I was like, I got the pronunciation right, you know? And I was like, okay, that's it. So I'll just say, 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
There you go. So
We all watch K-dramas.
I was about to say, you all probably know more Korean than I do. We're so proud of K-dramas in the Korean community and K-pop. Oh,
It is so good.
Oh.
anyway, what are you guys watching? What are you guys doing for fun these days?
I just caught up on One Piece.
Oh, that's an accomplishment.
Caught up like 1,000 episodes.
Over COVID, I've watched 400 episodes.
Wow. Impressive. That's impressive.
Was it worth it? Was it really worth it to watch, to spend that much
I love
time?
it.
Good show.
Is it? I gotta admit, I did Naruto, years ago, and I was like, I don't think I would have done that again. I mean, like, it's such a classic series, but it's like, man, that's a lot of hours of my life that I invested in that. What about you guys? What are you watching these days?
Michael and I are watching a show on Netflix called Ratchet, like Nurse Ratchet.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
So it's kind of like a thriller, horror, not really horror, suspense show. It's good.
Have you watched One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, the original movie?
Ooh, yes.
Right. So what do you think of this as that kind of, I guess it's a prequel kind of story?
Ooh. Yeah, I can see the connection. like there are definitely, I think Ratchet is more subtle in its storytelling. Like, I mean, because it also has so many episodes to feed you information and to build up dramatic tension and all these other things. But yeah, there is that sort of chaotic undertone there with certain characters, especially.
Okay, I got to say the only reason I really invited you, Brandon, was because I wanted to hear about Michael and kind of go fanboy over him. What's his? Tell us something interesting about him that people wouldn't know out there that would that you can just tell us without you know, he's not in the room, right? I don't think he is. He's not there, is he?
No, he's not. Oh, let's see. Good. Oh, I've got one for you. Most people don't know this about him. When he could not feel his feet until like 6 years ago.
What?
He actually had like an aphasia he was born with. He had never felt his feet, like from the ankles down, there was just no sensation.
What?
So he had to be really careful when he was a kid to like not injure his feet because he literally couldn't feel it.
Whoa.
And then like something happened and he can feel his feet now. And yeah, I was there when it happened. It was hilarious because he texted me for a week saying, "Is this what socks feel like? I hate shoes. Socks and shoes are the worst things ever invented."
He knows our struggle now. So,
So it's like is it a blessing or a curse that he can feel his feet now?
I don't know. I'll ask him.
that is weird. Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. That was worth it. How about you, Suzie? What are you watching anything these days or reading anything?
To be honest, I don't really keep up with TV shows, especially lately, but I have been meaning to pick back up on, you know, Chinese dramas just to sort of get started again on like refreshing my Chinese, because it's been literally years since I've spoken Mandarin really to anyone. I did study abroad in Shanghai, but that was literally maybe like 5 years ago at least. So I don't want to lose that, lose what I've learned. So just trying to watch dramas like that, just to brush up on Chinese.
I've heard Chinese dramas are addicting also. I've never watched one. I mean, are they, besides the obvious, are they very different from Korean dramas?
I mean, it depends on the genre. I do think Korean dramas tend to be more romantic, a lot of them anyway. But Chinese dramas, I guess there's a lot more period dramas where it's, you know, ancient Chinese history. But the ones that I actually like are more contemporary, so that I can get more of the modern language.
Do they use older words and stuff in the period dramas?
Oh yeah, definitely. Okay. So I don't understand any of them.
That's me with Japanese dramas. I'm watching and I'm like, oh, what?
Are there Vietnamese dramas, Xanthe?
I'm sure there are, but I don't watch them.
You're obviously the expert. You're Vietnamese. You represent all Vietnamese people, and you're an expert in all things Vietnam.
Like, I feel like growing up, my parents watched a lot of Chinese soap operas that were dubbed in Vietnamese that also had English subtitles that I would read. So that's how that would cross over. So we watched that instead of Vietnamese shows. Like the only shows that my parents watched that I was exposed to would be like the concert type shows. So they were like a lot of musical numbers and like little skits in between, but nothing like a soap opera.
Whenever I go to like Vietnamese restaurants, it's always concerts playing on the TV. I don't see
they're very popular.
It's always concerts. So that's interesting. I just want to ask you all one final question. It's kind of a typical kind of con question, and I already get this sense, especially from Xanthe watching 400 episodes over this break of One Piece. But are you all anime fans, and were you anime fans before you came into voice acting?
Definitely. That's how I got into voiceover, really.
What's your favorite show, Xanthe? Like, if you had to say your favorite show of all time.
Off the top of my head, I guess. Well, besides One Piece, Konosuba. Konosuba is hilarious, and I think the dub is fantastic.
Mhm.
Very nice. Okay, how about you, Suzie and Brandon? Same questions.
Well, when I was younger, I definitely really liked anime. Like I'm the one who binged Naruto for like hours and hours straight until I finished the entire thing. So yeah, I was really into it. But these days it's not so much. I think maybe because like I have like really particular standards for anime. And I keep getting nostalgic about like the really good anime back then. So I'm like, nothing can like top the anime that I watched when I was like 15 or something like that. You know what I mean?
Okay, you've just become old. That's all that is. That's just. I mean, that's all me and my friends talk about. We just sit back saying, why can't it just be like Dragon Ball Z and
Good old days. Oh, a good anime. No, I'm joking. Like I just like it's hard to catch my attention necessarily with newer anime, but shows like Appare-Ranman are like really interesting. The characters are really cool, so it's easier for me to get into than others.
What was your favorite growing up then?
Yu Yu Hakusho.
Oh yeah.
It's my number one favorite anime of all time.
Great show.
And the dub is also amazing. So good. So
great series.
So
mm-hmm.
Yes, I was an anime fan, and I'm still an anime fan. Just I don't have as much time to be an anime fan now because life. Oh boy, life. But yeah, it's why I started studying Japanese, and I was big into like the Final Fantasy series of video games. And I was like, I'm gonna learn Japanese so I can play every Final Fantasy in the original language. It'll be great. And then I haven't played every single one, but I played the ones that were super important to me.
Right.
And I was like, oh, and okay, I get it. It's great in Japanese. It's great in English too. Oh, look at this choice the localization team made. That's interesting. But so it's opened these doors. But yes, my favorite anime, probably two. One that just brings a lot of nostalgia to me. It's not like amazing or mind blowing, but it has so much nostalgia, and I don't even know why. It's one called Chrono Crusade.
Oh, I've heard of it.
Sure, I've watched it.
Older one, and then. I Cowboy Bebop. I know everyone loves Cowboy Bebop, but like
classic.
It was so instrumental, I feel, in how dubbing standards evolved and progressed, and it's marvelous. It's marvelous. It's great.
Cowboy Bebop, man. I had an interview with Bo Billingsley once, who voices Jet, and that man is just incredible. And that series is it's still so good. I tried to get a friend to watch it a few years ago, and she couldn't get into it because I think the cultural references have just changed, so much over time. But she certainly appreciated, like, every episode feels like a masterpiece. Okay. I changed my mind. Al is my favorite character from Appare-Ranman now. Oh dear! Oh no! No, Chrono Crusade's great too. I mean, we all have those series that they're nothing necessarily special about them, right? But they're special in our hearts, right? So I watched all of Chrono Crusade, and I think it's a very special series too. So
that show.
Very nice. Well, I'm probably out of time here, but thank you all for joining me today and for all your wonderful thoughts. I had a lot of fun listening to you all. So I think everyone out there probably had a lot of fun also. I want to ask everyone out there to go check out Appare-Ranman on the Funimation app or Funimation.com. It really is a wonderful series. We didn't talk about it that much, but it's a really great show. Their new episodes are generally coming out on Fridays, and they are off on the race right now. So you get all this great background in the first episodes, get to know these characters, especially the characters that you all play here. And then now the actual race is on, so it's a lot of fun. Please follow these wonderful people too. Xanthe is it's Xanthor on Twitter and Instagram. By the way, I'm going to mispronounce this, but everything's in the links. I guess It's Xanthe. That's like Thor, right? Are you Thor? Is that the idea?
It was a nickname a friend gave to me a long time ago. Makes me feel very epic.
Mighty.
You are epic, so it fits. So on Twitter and Instagram, both those platforms. Suzie is Suzie Yeung. That's Suzie with a Z, so Suzie, and Yeung, Yeung. On Twitter, she's also on Facebook, Suzie Yeung VO, if you want to follow her on there. And then Brandon is Brand Mickey, so that's BRANMCI on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, where you can hear him do Southern accents, speak in Japanese, take K-pop and do it in Japanese, all sorts of weird things. But it's a lot of fun. So give them a follow on all those. Please support them. Please support this show. We've you all that are out there have given us good feedback so far, and I know you're loving it. So please keep watching. New episodes coming out on Fridays. If we would love for you to listen, hear the dub, but the sub is also available too if you prefer that as well. So thank you all for tuning in today. Please subscribe to us if you like what we're doing. And thank you again to my guests today, to Suzie, Brandon, and Xanthe. So thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks everyone out there. God bless. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.